Greetings. Have you ever pondered what unfolds when a moment of vulnerability, a passing intrigue, gently guides us along an unfamiliar journey where lines fade and a lure becomes impossible to resist? Come, let us embark on a tale together. The unseen current. The warm steam from the shower veiled more than just a figure behind the frosted glass door. It held a hidden truth poised to reveal all that lay beneath the surface. The bathroom had always been my haven, a place where I could retreat from the day's turmoil and immerse myself in the soothing embrace of the shower's gentle flow. The warm water flowed gently over my skin, soothing the tightness in my muscles and wrapping the atmosphere in a soft, inviting mist. The mirror was shrouded in mist, the atmosphere thick with the soothing aroma of my lavender body wash. I tilted my head back, allowing the water to cascade over my face, my thoughts wandering to the mundane tasks that would greet me as soon as I emerged. The subtle creak of the door went unnoticed as it gently opened its sound, softened by the soothing flow of water nearby. I was unaware of the delicate change in the air as Ethan, my stepson, walked in. He was meant to be out with friends from high school, or so I thought. Yet there he lingered just inside the doorway of the master bath, his gaze filled with wonder as he absorbed the outline of my form behind the shower door. Initially, I was entirely unaware, lost in a gentle melody as I caressed my arms with the lather. As I turned to rinse, a subtle shift in the corner of my vision drew my attention. My heart raced as I sensed him nearby, his hand gently moving beneath the waistband of his jeans, an unmistakable longing hanging in the air. I stood still. My breath momentarily halted as my mind raced in a whirlwind, attempting to grasp the emotion swirling around me. For a brief moment, our gazes intertwined through the misty glass, the atmosphere heavy with unvoiced emotions. The steam swirled around us, enveloping the moment in a delicate mist, rendering it surreal, almost like a dream. I could see the guilt in his eyes, yet there was an intriguing depth that invited me to delve deeper, something deep, unspoken. His breaths were quick and uneven, a rosy hue gracing his cheeks, revealing that he was just as taken aback by the moment as I was. My initial impulse was to reprimand him, to insist he depart at once, yet an invisible pull restrained me. Perhaps it was the depth of his gaze, a blend of vulnerability and desire that awakened something profound within me. Perhaps it was the elusive, unanticipated spark of something I hesitated to face within my own being. Whatever it was, I held my silence, allowing the moment to linger, the unspoken connection between us tightening with every heartbeat. At last, he was the one to shatter the stillness. Apologies slipped from his lips, his voice soft and almost lost in the soothing whispers of the water. He twirled Hogsong, a student, hinting at his youthful spirit, and hurried from the bathroom, the door softly closing behind him. The soft click of the latch resonated in the stillness enveloping me in solitude beneath the water. My heart quickening with each passing moment. For what seemed like a timeless moment, I remained still, the water cascading over me as I grappled with the emotions of what had just unfolded. My mind swirled with a storm of feelings, surprise, a hint of shyness, and a tantalizing sensation that lingered just out of reach. I reassured myself that it was merely a passing instance of youthful wonder, something that would soon fade from his memory. Yet beneath the surface, I sensed that there was more to the story. His gaze held a captivating intensity that hung in the air around us, a lingering thought that resonated within me, echoing in my mind long after I had turned off the water and stepped out of the shower. I enveloped myself in a soft towel, each motion intentional and graceful, as I sought to soothe the storm within my mind. The bathroom mirror remained shrouded in a gentle mist. I brushed my hand across the surface, gazing at my reflection, feeling a warm flush rise to my cheeks. My eyes opened wide with a mix of wonder and hesitation. I inhaled deeply, attempting to release the thoughts that wrapped around me like the soft, lingering steam. As I stepped out of the bathroom and made my way back to my bedroom, a lingering sensation enveloped me, a whisper of change in the air that hinted at a profound shift in our connection. I comforted myself with the thought that it was merely a fleeting pause, a delicate interruption in our journey that would soon dissolve into the past. As I perched on the edge of the king-sized bed, wrapped in the softness of the towel, the memory of him standing there, his hand teasingly dipping below his waistband, lingered in my thoughts. An endless cycle. The resonance of that moment lingered, reaching deep into the heart, far surpassing the initial astonishment. It was the way he gazed at me as if I were the embodiment of his deepest desires. I glided my hands over my skin, feeling the towel gently slip away. The moisture wrapped around me while the coolness of the room sent a delightful shiver coursing through my body. I found myself captivated by the catch in Ethan's breath, the gentle shift of his hand. I found myself unexpectedly touched. I never expected to feel anything at all. Still, I found myself drawn in, aware of the misstep I was taking. Yet the reality was that a unique delight lingered in that moment, in the warmth of recognition and the longing of desire. Months had drifted by since I last experienced the tender embrace of true longing. My husband David and I had settled into a comfortable routine where our moments of closeness had transformed from spontaneous sparks to something that now appeared on our Google Calendar. The lack of a tender touch, the excitement of longing, created an undeniable emptiness. With a hint of hesitation, I acknowledged that Ethan's gaze had stirred something within me, a feeling that had been quietly resting for far too long. I gently shook my head, attempting to clear the cascade of thoughts that enveloped me. This felt so misplaced. Ethan was my stepson. I needed to hold on to that thought. As I finally dressed and slipped into bed, the cool percale sheets caressed my skin, and the memory of him remained, his eyes filled with a depth that was hard to define. Rest seemed like a distant dream, and when it finally arrived, it was restless, filled with dreams that stirred me from slumber in the stillness of night heart-racing warmth coursing through my skin. In the days that followed the bathroom incident, the memory of Ethan's wide eyes, his hand moving beneath his waistband, and the way he tensed when he realized I was watching lingered in my mind, a flicker of warmth I couldn't shake off. I reassured myself that it was merely the thrill of youth, yet it stirred something within me as well, a reality I wasn't prepared to confront, yet I found it impossible to overlook his turned-away eyes, the way his cheeks would bloom with color at my mere presence in the room. The atmosphere enveloping us shifted, imbued with a quiet intensity that took me by surprise. Initially, I attempted to brush it aside. I encouraged myself to hold on to my calm, to feign that all was as it should be. Yet the more I sought to create space, the more its allure enveloped me. It felt like a delicate dance, one that stirred a sense of unease within me, yet I discovered I could not escape its captivating charm. With a soft caress, I started to explore the limits. It began one morning in the warmth of the kitchen. Sunlight poured through the window above the sink, enveloping the granite countertops in a gentle glow as I prepared my coffee. Ethan lingered at the kitchen island, his fingers gliding over his phone, a sense of ease enveloping him, though a subtle tension lingered in his shoulders. His awareness of my presence lingered in the air, a silent connection that stirred something deep within. Each delicate shift I made appeared to capture his gaze, if only for a moment, pulling him toward me. As I reached for a mug from the cabinet above him, I leaned in closer, letting my body gently graze his shoulder. My silk robe draped softly, swaying gently as I reached out, and I noticed a slight catch in his breath. "Oops," I whispered softly. My voice laced with a playful charm. I looked down at him, observing how his eyes darted away the instant they connected with mine. His cheeks flushed softly and a gentle smile tugged at my lips. "Is there anything more you desire, my dear?" I inquired, my tone appearing pure, yet woven with a subtle warmth that caused his cheeks to deepen in color. He whispered something unclear, his phone slipping from his fingers and falling with a soft thud as he struggled to regain his composure. I averted my gaze, concealing my smile as I poured the warm liquid into my mug. It was a brief encounter, merely a brush of skin, yet the atmosphere surrounding us pulsed with an unmistakable energy. The excitement was undeniable, as I could draw a reaction from him with just the faintest hint of my attention. As the days passed, the playful allure grew more deliberate. I discovered a longing to be close to him, employing gentle touches and teasing remarks to explore the depths of our bond. On a serene afternoon, we stood close together at the double sink, gently washing the dishes. I moved nearer my arm, lightly grazing his in a delicate interplay of closeness. He tightened his hands, lingering in the water, and a gentle sigh escaped my lips. "Your silence feels different today. Is there something on your mind, Sayul? Am I troubling you?" He stayed quiet, yet I noticed the tension in his jaw, the way his fingers wrapped around the plate with an intensity that spoke volumes. I stepped back, allowing him to sense the distance I had formed, and observed his shoulders drop, not in relief, but in a manner that hinted at something more profound. I found myself enchanted by the way I could influence him, and once more I felt unable to hold back. One evening, as we tidied up after dinner, I felt his gaze upon me from across the kitchen. I leaned down to retrieve an item from the floor, and in that fleeting instant I felt his gaze hold on mine just a moment longer than it should have. Our eyes met, and rather than breaking the connection as I often do, I maintained his gaze, a gentle smile gracing my lips. "You know," I whispered, my voice soft and enticing, "if your gaze lingers, why not draw nearer?" His eyes flickered with surprise, and he swiftly turned away, whispering something about needing to tend to the trash. A gentle laugh slipped from my lips, resonating softly in the stillness of the kitchen. The sense of peril danced at the edges of consciousness, yet the temptation was irresistible. There was an enchanting allure in his response to me, the way his breath caught and his cheeks flushed at the faintest suggestion of my gaze. The teasing exchanges transformed into a charming dance, one I found completely enchanting. One morning in the warmth of the kitchen, I felt a gentle urge to explore deeper. As I prepared breakfast, he stayed close, pretending to be absorbed in his phone. Clad in a snug cashmere sweater, I felt its gentle embrace around my figure, a soft reminder of my own presence. The cool morning air enveloped me, sending a delightful shiver through my body, and I noticed his brief gaze upon me before he averted his eyes. I reached for the butter in the refrigerator, my hand gently grazing his for a brief electric moment as I moved by. He paused, his eyes meeting mine with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine, and I leaned in slightly. My voice soft and intimate. "Perhaps next time you might think about being with us." His cheeks flushed with a deep warmth, and his words danced on the edge of uncertainty, leaving me in a delightful state of curiosity about his thoughts. I released a gentle laugh, light and whimsical, before returning my attention to the stove. His gaze lingered, and in that instant I felt I had touched something deeply resonant. The game I found myself immersed in was filled with danger, yet an undeniable attraction drew me in. The intensity I experienced in those moments was profoundly enchanting. He absorbed my every word, every caress, yet beneath my pleasure in the power a deeper emotion was awakening. The feeling that surrounded me in his presence, the quickening of my heartbeat stirred by the depth of his intense gaze upon me. It was a feeling that had slipped through my fingers for what seemed like an eternity. It enveloped me in a wave of trepidation, yet stirred a deep excitement within, leaving me reluctant to release its hold. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, enveloping the world in a warm, golden embrace, I yearned for a moment of peace. After a long day, I entered the shower, yearning for the soothing embrace of the water's flow. The house was enveloped in a gentle hush, a stillness that wrapped around me, making me feel like the only spirit alive in that moment. Enveloped in a towel, its gentle terry cloth softly caressing my damp skin, I made my way from the master bathroom. As I walked by Ethan's room, a memory stirred within me. I had forgotten something within earlier. Maybe my hairbrush, or the soothing touch of lotion. Curiosity tugged at me, and I thought it might be worth exploring. I gently opened the door and stepped inside, choosing to forego a knock. Ethan was sprawled on his bed phone, cradled in his hand, yet his eyes lifted to mine the instant he sensed my arrival. His eyes sparkled with wonder as he absorbed the beauty of myself. Wrapped in a soft towel, my hair still glistening with droplets, I found myself on my way to the shower, not emerging from it as one might have thought. His gaze lingered on me, a subtle intensity in the way his Adam's apple moved as he swallowed, revealing a moment of vulnerability. My apologies slipped from my lips, a gentle whisper laced with a hint of mischief. I believe I may have forgotten something in this space earlier. He nodded his eyes, drifting down to his phone, as if the intensity of my presence was a burden too heavy to hold for more than a brief instant. I masked my true feelings, but a delicate excitement flowed within me at his response. I moved gracefully towards his dresser, my bare feet softly brushing against the carpet. As I bent down to explore, the towel moved, and I sensed it beginning to slide away. I stood still, my heart racing as the fabric slipped away, leaving me feeling completely vulnerable. In a moment that felt suspended in time, the room enveloped itself in a profound stillness. Ethan's gaze lingered on me, his surprise palpable in the charged atmosphere. My cheeks warmed with a gentle blush, while an unexpected thrill began to awaken within me, sending a delicate flutter through my stomach. I turned to face him, my hands instinctively drifting to shield myself, yet I lingered, hesitating to grasp the fallen towel. His eyes sparkled with intensity, his cheeks flushed, and I could sense the turmoil within him, the delicate dance between remorse and desire. He rose unsteadily, his movements a blend of urgency and hesitation as he reached for the towel and drew closer to me. Here he whispered, his voice soft, as he enveloped me in his presence. His hands quivered gently as they glided over my skin. His touch held for a moment longer than needed, and I found myself unable to pull away. As our gazes intertwined, I sensed the hitch in his breath. I raised my hand to adjust the towel, my fingertips brushing against his softly in that fleeting moment. The atmosphere surrounding us was thick with a palpable energy, transforming every breath into a deliberate act. I noticed the turmoil in his eyes as he attempted to hold my gaze, the brief moments of connection before they shyly slipped away. Yet I held his gaze, refusing to let him turn away. I locked eyes with him, my voice barely above a whisper as I proposed, "Why not share the shower with me?" His expression transformed, a glimmer of surprise dancing across his features, and for a fleeting moment I believed he might voice his hesitation, might convey the sense that this was somehow misplaced, that it ought not to be. Yet he simply nodded, his breath a soft whisper, heavy and unsteady as he struggled to swallow. I could see the conflict in his eyes, longing intertwined with regret, yet I gave him no opportunity to rethink his choice. I reached out our fingers, intertwining gently as I guided him toward the warmth of my bathroom. The hallway appeared to extend infinitely each step, lingering as though time had woven a delicate tapestry of moments. My heart raced within me, a fluttering sensation stirring in my stomach, blending a sense of nervousness with a thrilling anticipation. The warmth emanating from him was undeniable, a deep intensity that enveloped us as his fingers intertwined with mine, holding on firmly as we strolled together. The atmosphere between us was charged a rich energy vibrating softly in the air around us. As I stepped into the bathroom, the warm, inviting steam wrapped around me, filling the air with a gentle, soothing presence from the cascading shower. I turned to face him, my back pressed against the cool tile as I gazed into his eyes. He lingered for a brief instant, our fingers still intertwined, his chest rising and falling softly with each measured breath. But then, as if a long-held secret had finally been released, he stepped inside and gently closed the door behind him. He stood a few steps away, dressed in a t-shirt and jeans that clung to him in the heavy, sultry air. His eyes were locked onto mine, his breath coming in deep, rhythmic waves. The energy in his posture was palpable, and I could sense the intensity of his gaze as it lingered on me. In that brief moment, we held our breath, caught in a delicate pause. The atmosphere was charged a palpable presence that caused me to reflect deeply on each decision that brought us to this moment. Yet as if drawn by an invisible thread, I stepped nearer, my fingers quivering gently as I approached the edge of his t-shirt. He permitted me his breath hitching as I lifted it up and over his head, allowing it to cascade down to the tiled floor. His chest shimmered with the warmth of the steam, and I allowed my fingers to glide down his torso, sensing the quickened beat of his heart beneath my touch. The water cascaded over us as we stood beneath the shower head, a soothing embrace that awakened our senses. A gentle warmth enveloped me as droplets glided over my skin, tracing delicate paths along my body. I locked eyes with him, seeking a spark of connection, a hint of comfort, or a subtle sign of consent. His expression wove together threads of longing and hesitation, reflecting the turmoil that stirred within me. With a gentle touch, I extended my hand to rest on his chest, feeling the warmth of his damp skin beneath my palm. His heartbeat quickened, a strong rhythm beneath my touch, and I sensed a tremor pass through him at our connection. We lingered in that moment time, stretching endlessly around us. The water gently swept away the final remnants of uncertainty. Gradually, the space that separated us melted away. Our bodies inched closer, surrounded by a soft warmth and a gentle mist that felt like the last veil between us. My hands moved gently to his shoulders, fingers tracing the lines of his muscles as I felt his arms wrap around me, pulling me nearer. The initial kiss lingered in the air, a delicate dance of uncertainty as we navigated the uncharted territory between us. Yet, as our lips brushed together, a profound change enveloped us. The tension melted away, giving rise to a deep yearning that enveloped us completely. His lips met mine with an increasing intensity, his hands moving with a gentle grace. His hands gently embraced my waist as the kiss grew more intense. The sensation was electrifying, the heat of his presence beside me stirring a whirlwind of emotions. I met his kiss with a matching fervor, my fingers gently threading through his damp hair as I drew him nearer. The steam swirled, gently enhancing the enchantment of the moment. In that brief instant, I surrendered to the allure of the moment, letting go of our identities, the significance of it all, and the shadows of what lay ahead. In that moment, it was only the two of us floating in a world of our own. The gentle embrace of the water mingled with the intensity of our bond. Yet as our kiss deepened, I sensed a gentle weight against my abdomen. My breath caught in my throat, and instinctively I pulled back my eyes, widening as I glanced downward. A wave of unease washed over me. His presence was more commanding than I had imagined, and the realization washed over me with an unexpected intensity. My heart raced, not with desire this time, but with a wave of unease. "We can't." I murmured the words, slipping from my lips before I could hold them back. My voice quivered gently, mingling with the soothing sound of the cascading water, while the essence of my words lingered heavily in the atmosphere. I stepped back, allowing a gentle distance to form between us, and observed the mix of confusion and annoyance dance across his face. Before he could utter a word, I spun around and escaped the shower, gracefully grabbing a towel from the rack and enveloping myself in its warmth in one seamless movement. A whirlwind of emotions enveloped me, a disquieting blend of regret, apprehension, and a fleeting sensation that teased at the edges of my awareness. I left the bathroom behind, not glancing back, leaving him there lost in his solitude. The hallway was a stark contrast to the warm, inviting atmosphere of the bathroom, sending a delightful shiver through me as I rushed toward my bedroom. My thoughts swirled in a tempest, while my heart raced with fervor. A deep, unsettling awareness washed over me, revealing that I had crossed a line, stepping into a realm that was meant to stay uncharted. As I closed the door softly, a lingering feeling enveloped me, hinting at a decision taken, a decision that held the power to change everything. The days after my departure with Ethan, left in a state of confusion and frustration in the shower, were filled with a poignant mix of regret and longing. I whispered to myself that it was for the best that we mustn't tread those delicate paths, that it was misguided, fraught with danger and unwise. Still, the memory of his touch, the warmth that enveloped us remained like a fleeting whisper I couldn't shake off. At first, I kept my distance, immersing myself in work and daily tasks, yet the undeniable energy that lingered in the air whenever we met was simply too strong to overlook. At last, it was Ethan who shattered the stillness. One evening, as I was in the kitchen, gently putting things in order after dinner, he stepped inside, fingers entwined within his pockets, shoulders rigid with a weight of unexpressed emotion. "We need to talk," he said, his voice a soft murmur, steady and assured. I stood still, my heart racing, yet I found the strength to nod and stepped into the living room behind him. We sat at opposite ends of the sofa, the space between us feeling like an insurmountable divide. For an extended moment, a gentle hush surrounded us. At last he shattered the silence. "I can't pretend that nothing has changed," he said, his eyes holding mine with an intensity that stirred something deep within. "I understand that it's intricate, yet I find myself unable to simply—" A longing that stirred a mix of thrill and apprehension. I parted my lips, ready to express my worries, to suggest that we refrain from crossing this threshold, that it was a journey filled with uncertainties. Yet the words lingered unspoken, ensnared in the intricate tapestry of my feelings. The reality was that I couldn't mask my feelings. The connection we shared was an undeniable pull that captivated my very being. I breathed out gently, my fingers weaving through my hair as I sought the perfect words. "I find myself at a loss," I finally admitted, yet it envelops my mind completely. And so we found ourselves back in the shower, compelled not by simple desire, but by a profound bond, with a silent yearning to delve into the depths of what this was between us. The warm water flowed over us, dissolving the initial tension and nurturing a deepening sense of ease that invited openness. Initially, we lingered in quiet uncertainty, but gradually the tension dissipated, giving way to a profound connection that was both exhilarating and daunting. My gaze lowered, and a playful smile tugged at my lips. "It's no surprise you felt a bit reserved," I remarked, my tone airy, yet tinged with a teasing sparkle. "There's a captivating secret you've been keeping." His cheeks glowed with a warm hue, and a soft, nervous laugh slipped from his lips. His hands gently rose, a natural instinct to protect himself. "Stop it," he murmured, a playful smile flickering at the edges of his lips. I laughed softly, the sound lingering in the warm, thick air around me. "Take a deep breath," I whispered, moving nearer. "There's no reason to hold back your feelings. It's only the two of us." As our eyes locked, the weight in his shoulders seemed to melt away, searching for solace in my gaze. I extended my hands toward him softly, inviting him nearer. I guided his hands to rest gently on my waist. Here I breathed softly, my voice a gentle caress against the soothing sound of the flowing water. "Allow me to reveal it to you." I gently led his hands over my skin, unveiling a connection that took my breath away. His fingers lingered for a moment, but as he found his rhythm, his touches became more deliberate, more meaningful. I gently guided his hands over my shoulders, down my back and along my hips, my own hands softly resting on his as I led him to the sensations that brought me joy. The closeness was intoxicating. His touch ignited a cascade of sensations within me, both thrilling and soothing in its embrace. As the days unfolded, our showers evolved into something deeper than simple physical moments. They transformed into a haven for heartfelt dialogue where the warmth and flow enveloped us, melting away our reservations. One evening, as we stood together under the spray, I leaned against his chest, my back pressed against his warmth, his arms wrapping around me, his chin resting gently on my shoulder while the water cascaded over us. "Do you ever ponder the depths of our connection?" I inquired gently. My voice a delicate murmur. He paused for a heartbeat, his hold becoming a touch more firm. All the time, he confessed, his voice soft and laden with feeling. "It occupies my every thought." I nestled into his embrace, gazing up at him with a blend of remorse and intrigue. "Do you ever sense that we might be treading a delicate path?" He paused, his gaze lingering on mine with a depth that spoke volumes. After a moment of contemplation, he finally spoke, uncertainty lacing his words. "Being with you feels so right, as if every moment is meant to be. It simply resonates." The warmth of his embrace enveloped us, creating a tender sanctuary. Every word exchanged drew our spirits nearer. In that intimate haven, we exchanged dreams and vulnerabilities, revealing truths we held close to our hearts. The water flowed softly, a tender reminder that openness was a connection. Our barriers fell away, surrendering to the enveloping embrace of heat and steam. I uncovered layers of him that had been hidden, revealing his vulnerabilities, dreams, and perspective on life. In exchange, I revealed aspects of my being that had remained hidden for so long. One evening, as I rinsed the soap, I turned to him, a playful smile dancing on my lips. "You're becoming quite skilled at this," I playfully remarked, my fingers gliding softly along his arms. "Perhaps I should hold on to you a little longer." His laughter resonated, a warm and heartfelt melody that awakened a profound tenderness in my soul. For him, it was a delightful surprise. "I believe that would be wonderful." He murmured, his tone soft but rich with meaning. As days transformed into weeks, our intimacy deepened. There were moments of delight, like when I accidentally let the soap slip from my hands, and he, with a charming blush, eagerly bent down to pick it up while I teasingly nudged him. In moments of deep tranquility, he would pull me close, his breath a soft caress against my skin. As our connection grew stronger, the weight of our choices lingered, a silent recognition of the risks we faced. Though rarely voiced, it remained ever present. Even though I tried to sidestep the reality deep down, I understood that we would ultimately need to face the consequences together. The evening sun had softly lowered, enveloping the bathroom in a warm orange glow that filtered tenderly through the window. I stood before the mirror, wrapped in a towel, as steam danced around me, embracing the air and softening the glass. The warm water enveloped me, igniting a gentle warmth across my skin and soothing my muscles, but my thoughts remained a restless tide. In recent weeks, secret encounters blossomed, drawing us nearer, while an unspoken tension stirred a mix of thrill and uncertainty within my heart. I gently swept a brush through my damp hair, finding solace in the rhythmic motion. My reflection was softened steam gently veiling the outlines, yet I could perceive the subtle warmth on my rosy cheeks. The sparkle in my gaze sways gently between longing and doubt. Every time we stepped into the shower together, it felt like we were crossing a threshold that would forever change us. And yet, I discovered that I could not stop myself. He found himself just as powerless. The towel enveloped my body, its soft fibers holding on to the warmth of the lingering moisture. I tilted my head gently, easing the knots, my movements slow and immersed in contemplation. Thoughts of Ethan drifted through my mind, bringing back the memory of his hands softly brushing against my skin. Under the soft flow, the intensity in his eyes, the way his breath faltered when I teasingly stirred him. The magnetic pull between us grew stronger, deepening with every encounter. His arrival in the bathroom went unnoticed by me, yet an undeniable awareness of his presence enveloped me before my gaze could validate it. A sudden warmth surrounded me from behind his hands, softly resting on my hips. His breath brushing against my neck, warm and tender, sending a delightful shiver that traveled down my spine. The warmth of his longing enveloped me, a silent testament to the connection we shared. As the fabric brushed against my skin, my heart quickened, and the world around me faded into a serene stillness while I held the brush in a moment of anticipation. As I caught a glimpse of him in the mirror, our gazes danced together within the misty surface. His eyes were profound and passionate, filled with a longing that reflected my own. "Ethan," I whispered, my voice trembling just a bit as I turned to lock eyes with him. I let the brush slip from my fingers onto the counter, my hands reaching out toward him as if drawn by an unseen force. His eyes searched for mine, a silent plea for understanding, and I could sense the storm brewing within them, a deep yearning intertwined with his remorse. With a gentle instinct, I raised my hand to caress his face, my fingers softly tracing the lines of his jaw. He yielded to my caress, his hands holding my hips as he pulled me closer. In that moment, a hush surrounded us, and I gently pressed my lips against his. The kiss was deep and enveloping, a moment that left no room for uncertainty or pause. His lips met mine with a fervent longing. His hands softly tracing my back, pulling me closer still. I intertwined my fingers in his damp hair, my body softly pressing against his. As the atmosphere thickened with an almost palpable energy, our hands explored the contours of each other's forms, guided by a mix of intrigue and longing. The soft embrace of towels slipped away gently. His touch lingered, filled with a delicate hesitation, as if he were wary of crossing that final threshold. In that moment, I guided him, gently showing through my every move that it was not only permissible, but that my longing echoed his own. My hands moved gently across his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart beneath my palm, and I noticed how his breath would hitch every time my fingers brushed lightly against his skin. The air in the bathroom was thick with warmth and desire, our breaths mingling softly with the quiet hum of the exhaust fan. The rhythm was gentle and intimate, every touch deliberate and filled with meaning. The air hummed with an electric energy, a deep yearning to close the gap between us, the longing to transcend that final boundary, becoming ever more profound. Finally, we gave in to the moment. Our movements became imbued with a deeper intensity. The lines that once separated us dissolved completely as we surrendered to the warmth and intensity of the moment. It unfolded in a whirlwind of sensations, his hands caressing my skin, the warmth of his body enveloping me. He breathed my name softly, as though it were the only sound that mattered in that moment. As the moment lingered, we stayed intertwined, our bodies near breaths mingling in uneven, hurried whispers. The steam hung in the air, wrapping around us like a gentle caress, and I felt the rhythm of his heartbeat echoing softly against my chest. For a lingering moment we remained enveloped in silence, words unspoken between us. We simply stayed wrapped in each other's arms as the weight of our choices surrounded us like a warm, soothing embrace. I looked up at him, my eyes searching his for a hint of comfort or understanding. His expression was an enigma, a tapestry of feelings that danced just beyond my grasp. Yet I sensed the delicate quiver in his hands as they rested on my hips. I raised my hand to gently brush a damp strand of hair from his face, my fingers lingering on his cheek as I sought the perfect words to express my feelings. Yet in the end, the silence conveyed so much more. He leaned in closer, his lips brushing against mine again this time with a soft, lingering caress. And I came to realize that for better or for worse, this was the essence of our present moment. The path ahead was clear, and we could no longer deceive ourselves. As we held each other close, wrapped in a tender warmth, a wave of emotions washed over me, reflecting on the deeper meanings of our connection. The warm evening air wrapped around us, while the soft murmur of the kitchen fan blended with the soothing rhythm of dishes as we lovingly prepared dinner together. The earlier intensity of the bathroom had transformed into a charming lightness, the kind that made it effortless to disregard the weight of our choices. Ethan stood at the counter, his hands skillfully slicing through the vibrant vegetables for a salad lost in the rhythm of the moment where each cut seemed to resonate with a deeper purpose. I leaned against the refrigerator, a glass of Chardonnay cradled in my hand, watching him with a teasing smile that danced on my lips. I couldn't help but notice I said, "Your talent in that realm is truly captivating. Do you have any boundaries to what you can do?" He glanced up a delicate smile, teasing the corners of his mouth. "It hinges on the essence of your question," he replied, a teasing warmth woven through his tone. I let out a gentle laugh, setting my glass down on the counter as I moved a little nearer. "Indeed, you've truly honed your culinary talents," I said softly, leaning in to admire his creation. "Yet I find myself reflecting on how you managed to keep that hidden for such a long time." His face turned a deep shade of crimson as a soft, nervous chuckle slipped from his lips, his hands pausing mid-chop. "It appears you're quite resolute in keeping that close, aren't you?" he whispered softly, his voice lacking any real annoyance. A warm smile graced my lips as I reached out to softly brush a strand of hair away from his forehead. "Absolutely not," I responded, my voice softening slightly. "It's a challenge to forget," he chuckled softly, shaking his head with a hint of nostalgia. Yet I could sense the change in his gaze, the way it intensified as it lingered on mine. The atmosphere around us shifted the lighthearted teasing, giving way to a depth that stirred a flutter of excitement within me. I drew nearer, my fingers softly brushing against his arm, feeling the tautness of his muscles react to my caress. "Have you ever found yourself lost in thought about it?" I asked softly, my voice barely above a whisper. He lingered, his eyes searching deep into mine. Always he revealed his voice laden with unexpressed emotions. "It occupies my every thought." His words stirred a deep connection within. A delightful tremor enveloped me as I drew nearer, our lips tantalizingly close. The tension in the atmosphere was almost unbearable, a vibrant energy pulsing through the space. His hands rested on my waist, pulling me closer, and I felt the inviting warmth of his body against mine. In a brief, enchanting pause, we held our breath, our essences mingling as the world beyond faded away. In an instant, he swept me up with ease and set me gently on the kitchen island, the mail and a bowl of fruit tumbling around us. My heart quickened, and a soft laugh slipped from my lips. With a racing heart, my fingers gently grasped his shoulders as he settled himself between my legs. Our kisses deepened, growing more passionate as the initial lightheartedness gave way to a raw, unrestrained longing. His hands moved over my body, with a deep yearning awakening a cascade of feelings. The atmosphere shimmered, warmth intensifying. My fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer as I kissed him with a fervor I had not known I could feel. We discovered ourselves wandering in a sea of uncertainty. In that moment, the world outside the kitchen melted away, leaving only the soft ambiance until the unexpected creak of the back door shattered the tranquility. We paused our forms, intertwined as the weight of the moment surrounded us. I turned my attention to the door, my heart quickening as I saw my husband David standing there with his father, both framed in the doorway, their eyes filled with a mix of wonder and surprise. The atmosphere thickened, a tangible quiet enveloping him as he took in the scene before him. For a lingering moment, silence enveloped the space, and no one moved. The silence wrapped around everything, a weight that lingered in the air. The intensity of the moment enveloping us, a shared experience that stirs the heart. My heart fluttered. My hands trembled as I slowly pulled away from Ethan. He pulled back, his face pale, eyes filled with a deep sense of regret and uncertainty. David's gaze flickered between us, his expression a veil of mystery. He parted his lips, but a profound silence wrapped around him. He stood still, hands clenched, as the silence stretched on heavy and profound. At last, he broke through, his voice gentle and rich with emotion. What is unfolding in this moment? The kitchen, once filled with a comforting glow, now felt like a scene of turmoil. The atmosphere was thick with tension, David's frustration hovering like a storm on the horizon. He paused at the doorway, his expression a captivating mix of surprise and intensity, his eyes darting between Ethan and me. A tranquil hush surrounded me, broken only by the rhythmic pulse of my heartbeat resonating in my ears. What is unfolding in this moment? He whispered, his voice soft, yet trembling with intensity. The words enveloped me, leaving my heart in a swirling dance of emotions. I stepped back from the island, my legs quivering, holding onto its edge for a sense of balance. Ethan stood still beside me, his face pale, hands clenched tightly into fists. We lingered in silence, the depth of the moment enveloping us, rendering us completely speechless. David moved further into the room, each step echoing softly, the intensity in his eyes mingling with a deep sense of betrayal, awakening a poignant ache of guilt within me. "Respond to me," he urged, his voice rising with intensity. "What were you two involved in?" I wonder. I parted my lips, but silence lingered in the air. What whispers might I summon? How can I express that which eludes understanding? My thoughts flowed, searching for a glimmer of something that could make this moment a touch more tolerable. Yet there was nothing, only the heavy weight of regret intertwined with the realization that we had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Ethan shattered the stillness, his voice trembling with unspoken feelings. "Dad, it's not as it appears, not as it—" What does it appear to be? David's voice resonated with a deep sense of disbelief. He let out a soft, throaty laugh, shaking his head gently. "Do you believe I am naive? I witnessed what was meant to be seen. Spare me the pretense." The words lingered in the atmosphere, evoking a deep resonance. I noticed the pain reflected in Ethan's gaze. He opened his mouth as if to share his thoughts, but paused, his shoulders sinking in uncertainty. It felt beyond words, a sensation that eluded definition. In truth, we had embraced a choice born from desire and impulse, and now we must confront the aftermath of our actions. To confront the aftermath, David turned to me, his gaze intense, brimming with unspoken feelings. "And you," he said, his voice quivering with a mix of passion and restraint, "what thoughts were dancing through your mind? How could you do this to me? What about us?" I pulled back emotions welling up within me. "I'm sorry." I breathed, my voice barely a soft murmur. It was never intended to reveal itself like this. "It wasn't intended to reveal itself like this," he murmured, his voice lifting with emotion. "What was truly intended to unfold, were you planning to carry on with this without my knowledge? Will you persist in misleading me openly?" The accusation struck a deep chord within me. A fresh wave of remorse washed over me. He was indeed correct. I had led him astray, woven a web of the deepest betrayal. Even with attempts to justify it, I had always felt in the depths of my being that it was not right. Words escaped me. I admitted, my voice quivering with emotion. "It was never my desire to bring you sorrow." "But you did," he said, his voice cool and unwavering. "Both of you did." The room was wrapped in silence again, the weight of his words hanging in the air. The gravity of the moment lingered in the air. Soft tears flowed down my cheeks, and I chose to let them linger. Ethan stood beside me, his gaze cast down, a deep sense of vulnerability reflected in his expression. David's gaze moved between us, the initial anger dissolving into a deep sadness that was almost overwhelming. "Leave," he finally said, his voice a soft but firm invitation. "In this moment, I find it difficult to meet your gaze." I nodded, my legs quivering as I moved away from the island. Ethan hesitated, his gaze flickering to his father, whose figure was softly outlined by the gentle glow emanating from the bedroom doorway. He paused, fingers lingering near the doorknob, as if the gravity of his choice was more substantial than the door before him, the atmosphere heavy with unexpressed emotions. The air was thick with unspoken feelings. My heart quickened, and I noticed Ethan's breath falter, just a bit, revealing that he too was caught in the whirlwind of emotion swirling around us. The silence lingered thick and palpable as we both hovered on the edge of something profound. His hand lingered on the doorknob as he turned to meet my gaze, his eyes reflecting a blend of vulnerability and an unspoken depth that stirred something profound within me. "I'm sorry," he murmured at last, his voice soft and barely audible. I nodded, my tears flowing freely down my cheeks. "Me too," I responded, my voice trembling with feeling. He parted his lips, ready to speak, but hesitated, his shoulders drooping as he gently shook his head. He quietly entered his room, gently shutting the door, and I was left standing in the hallway, enveloped in a moment of solitude. The house's atmosphere was heavy, with an unsettling stillness, the weight of recent events wrapping around me like a tender embrace. Uncertainty enveloped us, the weight of our choices hung in the air, unfolding in ways that stirred emotions I could hardly grasp. As I stood there, tears flowing softly, it dawned on me that our lives had transformed forever. Even though I longed to turn back time, I recognized the hopelessness of that desire. What lingered was the need to face the echoes of the past and hold on to the belief that with time we could find a path to heal what had been lost. The story reached its end in that instant, yet the echoes of our choices lingered unresolved and deeply felt. Is it possible to find solace and mend the wounds we create in ourselves and in others when boundaries are blurred? This narrative evokes a haunting contemplation, inviting us to delve into our choices, desires, and the cost of fleeting moments that slip through our fingers. What are your reflections on the delicate interplay of longing and its aftermath? I appreciate you for sharing in this exploration of my inner turmoil